We like to quote our contributor, George Will, who said, "We should all just eat a cheese sandwich and relax. It's going to be okay." Whatever you eat this Thanksgiving holiday, here's hoping we can all find something to celebrate. Maybe we have to look a little harder or think a little differently, but it's definitely there. Joining me now for more on this and some of the tensions that might arise over the holiday dinner table, the host of the Mo Kelly Show, our friend Mo Kelly, and our friend, former Texas State Representative Rick Green. Mo, let's start with you. You guys talk with people every day on your shows, and I know it gets contentious because I follow your Twitter feeds. What's your advice? Do you keep politics off the table?
For my household, it's kind of what brings us together because of social media, you kind of know where your family members stand for most of the year, for most of the issues. So when you come together, it's more just a continuation of a conversation. But I have a very small family. Both my parents, thank goodness, are still alive, but they were both only children. I have an older sister and her husband. They only have one son. And so we have a very small family. So politics are okay at our dinner table, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's true for everyone.
Rick, as a former politician, I'm sure politics are on the menu in your household, but you've also experienced the decorum of a political body. How does it change at the dinner table?
Well, kind of like Mo, I mean, most of the folks that come in from the family are somewhat in the same arena on the political thing. But I just recommend to people, look, when you have these discussions, I think it is important to talk about religion and politics when you get together as a family, because if you don't have civil discourse, you're going to end up in civil war. And I think if we avoid these big topics that we're all thinking about, it just drives us further apart. So the key thing is to ask questions and look for things that you can agree upon and agree that you're going to seek truth. And, of course, stand for what you believe in, but genuinely try to understand why they believe what they believe if there is a difference. And I think you'll find you can actually end up with a great conversation around the dinner table.
Man, that sounds great. It almost sounds a little easier than it is in practice, though. Let me ask you about this. At our meeting today, guys, we talked about how really the last time the country was together, all together, was when we were under attack on 9/11. I think we all had sort of a common enemy. And since then, there's nothing really that's brought us together. We've had national tragedies that you think would, but it always seems to lead to a debate on some aspect of it or finger pointing, Mo. Well,
that's why I'm always rooting for aliens to land a ship on the White House lawn, because I think that's about the only thing which will unify us at this point. I will hope that we could come together without there being a national tragedy, emergency, or a wartime setting. But unfortunately, historically, or at least recently in history, that's what has been necessitated. Hopefully, this will be a period in our history, but not necessarily the transformation of our society. I remain hopeful and optimistic on this holiday.
Rick, why do you think it is that we've become so comfortable attacking one another?
Well, I'm more optimistic than most people, kind of like Mo. And I'm not going to say this, Joe, just because I'm on your show, but you just got through channeling Abraham Lincoln. I mean, the last time we were anywhere close to this divided, in fact, we were much more divided than right now. In 1863, in November, he looked around and said, look, we're killing each other. This is an unbelievably painful time in our history. And yet when he did that Thanksgiving proclamation, he pointed out all the positive things, just like you did at the top of the hour. And he said, look, there's a lot of bad things happening, but we've got to look to God and thank God for what he has given us that's good. We've got to look to each other and find what actually brings us together and can unite us again. I think we can channel a little bit more Lincoln this year, be thankful for what is good, open up those conversations and start saying what can bring us back together. And if I can just throw one more guy in there, Patrick Henry said in his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, he said, according to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. The subject today is pretty big. Is our nation going to stay together? That should open up a freedom of discussion amongst our fellow family members around the Thanksgiving table. But let's start with giving thanks for all the good things we've got.
Yeah, great points. Let's look inward if we can. And I guess when I say that, I mean us in the media. Robbie Suave from Reason Magazine was on this week, and he talked about the state of the media. Here's part of what he said.
And there's a responsibility for the news media, the people who traffic in this, to turn down the temperature a little bit, to be a little bit less snap in their judgments. I mean, that was a lot of the problem with the early Rittenhouse coverage, and just kind of wait and let it simmer a little bit, and you'll do better. Not you specifically, obviously. You're doing a fantastic job, but a lot of other people.
We appreciated that from Robbie. Mo, let's go there. Is the media, I guess, responsible for much of this? Outrage drives a lot of cable news, let's face it.
I'm quite sure, but also I think we need a lesson as far as what media is. It's not just news media, it's social media, it's broadcast television, it's public radio, it's all these things which come together to form our collective consciousness around these issues. And we don't have the same priorities, unfortunately. Some of us are in it for eyeballs, some of it for just for ears and listens and plays and streams. And so until we can get on one page and have a singular focus as far as the level of responsibility in understanding that we have a collective responsibility in not being irresponsible in how we discuss these issues. Until we get to that point, then we're going to still continue to struggle with this.
Rick, a lot of this stems from politics, and that was your world for a lot of years.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Mo again. I mean, I think we got to focus in on the responsibility part. We always love to talk about our rights. You know, I've got the right to do this or the right to do that. And sometimes, you know, I'm guilty of that as well, kind of ranting about those rights. But there's always a corresponding responsibility. So whether it's our right to keep and bear arms, it's our right of the freedom of the press, or our right of freedom of speech, there comes a responsibility with that. And so for all of us in media, a huge responsibility, because it's going to influence folks, and it's going to either gin them up and get them fired up, or it's going to get them to think and have reason. So I love exactly what you're saying. What a great reminder for all of us to remember our responsibility as we're speaking on that topic, and not just, you know, getting people all fired up, but actually getting them to think about what's happening.
Great perspective to start us off tonight. Mo Kelly and Rick Green, it's great to have you both. Take care. Enjoy the holidays.